Hey guys, I'm coming to you today with a little bit of a different topic. Usually I talk about, what's going on in my life career-wise, or getting into PA school tips and tricks, like finances, different things like that. But today I'm going to be talking to you about coronavirus. I know there's this mad frenzy going on, and I just wanted to share my personal experiences with you and with the public. So as you guys know, I am an emergency medicine physician assistant in the Bronx, and I am an urgent care physician assistant in Connecticut. So I am at a hospital that does have active COVID cases. Last night multiple people were intubated. I worked the last 2 nights. So I just want to share my experiences with you. I was off for a little bit and then I came back. The first day I came back, I walked through the door, I was handed PPE, top down face shield, a N95 mask. We have enough surgical masks, that's good, and then a yellow protective gown. So yeah, at my urgent care, I had my N95 in a bag with my name on it as soon as I walked in. That was, my size. I had a pair of goggles, I had gowns, and yeah. So the second day that I came to work was yesterday night. Came to work, we're out of N95s. And then we also had to reorganize my entire emergency department. So now we had like a fast track area and then a more acute area. Now we've split it into 2 areas, and now all patients, no matter the acuity level, they're being seen in that fast track area, and that area is being considered a clean area. All of the attendings are in full PPE for their entire shift, and they are reusing that PPE. I think the only time they're not required to reuse a mask is if they intubate someone and they use their N95. That's the only time they can get a new N95. So when I went to work, my N95, I didn't get an N95 because we didn't have any more. I had saved my mask from the shifts before. I wore it one time, and that was just to do a nasal swab on a patient. But anytime you nasal swab a patient, you are aerosolizing the virus. So this virus, by what I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you do a neb on someone, you're aerosolizing the virus. When you swab them, so like any type of flu swabbing or a respiratory panel, you're aerosolizing the virus. And you're kind of putting everybody at risk. So that's why I do swab patients, so that's why I have an N95, but it's also like if you're intubating, you really should have an N95, you need goggles, you need different things. So our attendings are fully in PPE, and they're reusing that same PPE for their entire shift. We have a tent outside, so we're trying to use that tent to really only spend our time seeing critical people. So people that are less critical, that tend to come into that ED all the time, we're trying to, say, hey, this is the risk that you're taking. We just want to let you know, and if you decide to do that, that's on you. Also, for me, with the way they reorganized the ED, is now I'm managing critically ill patients. I had an ICU patient, someone with renal failure, fluid overload in their lungs. I had hypoglycemia with hypothermia. I've had, multiple kidney stones, appendicitis, like all of the people that actually need care. People even, we're not even supposed to have people on BiPAP either. So that's another thing. Like people that are chronic, like COPDers, it's rough. Asthmatics, like if you give them a neb treatment and they have anything else going on, you're putting everybody at risk. But yeah, so now I'm managing all these really acute patients. The problem is I was working at a hospital that was so understaffed that I was supposed to get main ED training, but because the staffing was so low, they prioritized the fast track area because there always has to be a PA there. And I didn't get the ED training, like the main ED training that I should have. Now COVID has hit us, and now the PAs are not trained to handle this acuity level and this volume of acuity level, and we are managing these patients. I wouldn't say free of an attending, but the attendings are manning the side with the COVID patients. They're actively intubating, and then they're supposed to, eyeball these patients, which to me doesn't sound practical. There was no daytime attending in the fast track area, which is now the clean area, seeing high acuity patients, level 2s, level 3s, chest pain, all of that is now in that back area, and we don't even have an attending because the staffing is that low. They said that we can't have another attending because our census is lower. Normally we see 180 or something like that, and I guess our census dropped by 80 patients, but it's like all the 100 patients that we are seeing are critically ill patients. So you can't always use numbers and money to justify this. I feel like the hospital is putting us in an unsafe environment because we don't have proper PPE. And there's really like no support for that. There's no one is trying to fix that. So we are constantly at risk. The patients are at risk. When COVID first broke out, they were putting everybody with cough and fever in the same room, regardless of your age. They put my 4-year-old patient in a room with, like the patients were triaged there. So triage just, okay, cough, fever, you go in that room. My 4-year-old was in there with, a 60-year-old woman. And when I found out, I pulled my 4-year-old out of that room. Within an hour, that woman's husband, who was being seen on the acute, the COVID side, was intubated. So I was like, well, he's 100% positive. She's probably positive. And now we've grouped everybody that has a cough and fever into this one little cubby hole. So the hospital is, to me, right now, I'm going to be real, it's an extremely unsafe place. So I would advise anyone is like, if you're not critically ill, you're not safe in the hospital. I know my hospital if your hospital is safe and they have isolation measures and you guys have PPE and you guys are living in this happy fairy tale world, then good, go for it, go to your hospital, like that's fine. And anytime you have chest pain, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, yes, you have to be evaluated. But I would say for non-essential things, the emergency room is just not the safest place right now. And also, I'm managing patients that I feel are really acutely ill with very little, interactions from an attending, with no proper training and no setup for success. So we're basically there and hoping for the best. We're short-staffed. And then we have really, really sick patients. So it is an extremely challenging and trying time. So I just wanted to come to you guys to tell you, like, this is the other side of healthcare. Now COVID is out. And it's a scary time. I'm personally not concerned about getting the virus, and a lot of emergency medicine providers are not concerned about getting the virus. Last night at work, we had this conversation, and the conversation is like, it's not if we get the virus, it's just when we get the virus. And, we're prepared for that. And for me, it's not the fact of getting the virus. I'm a healthy 28-year-old female. Most likely I will be an asymptomatic person. It's everybody else that comes in contact with me that cannot withstand the virus. Right now, my grandmother is on hospice and she is rapidly declining. And I actually have made the decision not to see her in her final days because my exposure is that high. So, yeah, that's it. So if you guys have any questions for me, any comments, any concerns, I am, on the front lines of COVID in Connecticut, in New York. I have dealt with positive patients and I'm actively seeing very, very sick people. And, it's not the safest environment. It's not, it's just not safe. It's not good patient care. It's not good self-care on the provider part. I feel like the hospital administration doesn't care. They're not trying to fix anything. They're coming out with guidelines saying, oh, it's okay to, swab a patient and wear a surgical mask because it's mostly droplet and this and I don't want to hear it's mostly anything. Like, don't give me one protocol and now that we're running out of equipment and we don't have any equipment, give me another protocol, because you're asking me to put my health and well-being on the line to see people. And it's also like there hasn't been any talk of incentive pay, of hazard pay. Nothing like that has been discussed. But anyways, if you guys have any COVID questions for me, just leave a comment below. Stay safe.